Empaths are highly sensitive people. Highly sensitive people means you're sensitive to energy. Energy is not something that's talked about in our modern world. It's not on the news. It's only talked about in these circles here. Even here, we're still discovering it. And empaths have open energy fields. A lot of us, unless we learn how to adequately protect our energy field, will be open, meaning we are merging with all energies around us all the time. That depletes, exhausts, and it confuses us. We don't know what is ours and what is someone else's.
Welcome to the Awaken Magazine podcast, where influential conscious leaders come to share the real stories behind their spiritual journeys and how they're helping others awaken to love. I'm your host, David Trotter, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Chase Butticé. She is an astrologer, a spiritual coach, and the author of the book entitled Witchy Bitch. I don't know if I could say that. Chase is powerful and amazing, and we talk all about why and how she has embraced the archetype of High Priestess and what she went through in order to feel comfortable taking that archetype on and embodying that in her life and her work. We also dive into the topic of courage and how she defines it, specifically how she defines it as trusting and embracing your intuition. And then we talk about how empaths, how it's so important for those of us who are empaths to protect our energy and how we should do that. Hey, if you enjoy spiritual conversations that go beyond the surface, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the Awaken Magazine podcast. Whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or watching on YouTube, click subscribe. We release several interviews every single week that are so powerful and inspiring, and I don't want you to miss a single one. I'd also encourage you to share this conversation with a friend who would be inspired by Chase's story. All right, let's jump in to my conversation with Chase Butticé. Chase, thank you so much for taking time to hang with us today. It's great to see you.
Me too.
So one of the ways that you describe yourself, well, I guess two of the ways, I wanted to pull out these words because oftentimes people might use a word or hear a word, but don't necessarily know the essence, especially behind who is using it. You like to describe yourself as a seer and then also as a high priestess. And so I'd love to understand a bit more about how you see those words and how you embody those.
Yeah, for sure. It's taken me years to own these archetypes and not in a pretentious or cheesy way. I think that a lot of times, even the words high priestess, a lot of people would just scoff their eyes that somebody would say that, Priestess, I like to use that word. I use the word high priestess because it's an archetype of the tarot and it's a true archetype. And it's one of an ancient lineage that is very deep and very old and very wise, of Isis, of Inanna, of the high prima feminine, and it's really this energy of mysticism and magic and the energy of really being able to see into something, see deeply into something, see the energy behind matter, wisdom, the attributes of seeing beyond logic. Those are all the energetics of priestess energy and bringing that lineage back. And so that's why I use it. It's been forgotten in our culture, especially since in the age of Pisces, but since the reign of patriarchal world culture and monotheistic religions, we've really lost the energetics of the priestess and what that means. And I really like to like the Albert Einstein quote: "Intuition should be our guide, and rationality its faithful servant." We've really gotten that of opposite in our culture. The priestess energy, that energy of wisdom, that reverence of wisdom. Bringing that back and understanding there are things beyond logic that and rationality that are governing our universe, and to honor and venerate them.
Thank you for sharing that. I love the texture that you get. It's so easy to read someone's bio on Instagram or website or something, but just to hear
Yeah.
the texture of what they're embodying, it's beautiful. Do want to go back to kind of your own awakening to consciousness, mindfulness, spirituality, and specifically even your childhood. That did you grow up with some sort of faith or spirituality as a part of that upbringing, or did that come to you later in life?
No, it was funny. My mom said I was born with one gray hair on my head and I didn't cry when I was born. I was born a child. I am very authentically Californian. My dad was in the rock and roll business. He was the, head of Elektra Records. He helped basically his band was the Eagles, Hotel California. I had a very wild, different. My mom was an Aquarius. Freedom was a very, very strong tenet of my childhood. I was left to pretty much my own devices. I didn't have a lot of rules. I had no religion, zero. So I had no spirituality. It's kind of what's beautiful and what's missing about America. I mean, we have Christianity, we have baseline, we do have religion, but a lot of people in America kind of they meditate, or people who are in the new age space, they'll meditate, but they don't have deep connection to source. They don't know what that feels like. And it's taken me, because of the way I was born, and I am of the lineage of the priestess. I have that wisdom. I've always been very psychic, very attuned to other people's energies. It's taken me years to understand what that is and what that's about. And through that process, I finally kind of understood that it took me a long time to kind of ground into my own connection to source and create my own structure around my own spirituality, if that makes sense. It took a long time though.
What were some of the markers or breakthrough points where you felt like, oh man, that was a really big marker of me kind of like seeing things in a different way? Anything
Oh
come to your
man,
mind?
I've had so many of those in my life. I mean, I would say I'm somebody that's very wild and free, and I've always been somebody that follows my instincts and my intuition. It's led me down wild paths. Um, I've had so many. I think that when I had many years of kind of being a wild woman on the fringes, trying to find my way in the world, not ever being able to work in a corporation or a normal job. And when I finally decided to start my own business back in 2016, and work for myself basically as a healer, was when I started feeling like I started gaining sovereignty and true energetic control over my life,
Hmm.
instead of outsourcing it to someone else or a boss. And when you work for yourself, that's why entrepreneurship is really, it's a very spiritual thing, because you start to be in tune with the flow of the divine and realizing that energy and wealth, and it's all part of consciousness. And so it really challenges you to work with those energies and not outsource it to a boss, to have these structures of semblance of safety. So I think that's probably that's probably when that shift really started occurring, because it forced me to go deeper into myself, to examine my own relationship to source and
Mhm.
abundance. And yeah, I mean, I've had so many wake up calls. I could tell you stories and stories of being in the woods of Alaska and breaking my foot, or just all kinds of things. I remember I moved to the bush of Alaska by myself. I lived in a cabin out in the woods, and I was like, I kind of had this moment, because I was like really searching for the wild, really going deep into the wild. And I kind of had this moment of just like, what am I doing out here? I realized I was so isolated, and it was so wild that I was scared shitless. Like there was bears, there was eagles, there was all these things. And I was like, I realized that I kind of had taken it to the extreme. Yeah, there's a lot of I have a lot of stories.
What motivated you to move to Alaska?
Wildness. Well, I have a graduate degree in sustainable communities with an emphasis in consciousness and social change. Basically, I wrote my whole master's thesis on rewilding. Um, and I hated graduate school. Like, it killed my soul. I hated it
Mm.
so much. And I went and lived with a boyfriend in Alaska after that. And I just wanted to be free of all institutions and domestication and people trying to box me in and competition. And I wanted to reconnect with nature on a very primal, deep level. That's why.
Mhm. As you were sensing kind of this calling to start your own business, as you said in 2016, what was that transition like? So many of our listeners are thinking about that, right? Or in the midst of that, going, oh, geez, I feel like I have these intuitive gifts. People are telling me I should be offering this in some way.
Yeah.
I feel like I should do it for free all the time. I feel like it's weird to charge.
Yeah.
That, how did you navigate that shift or that change in your life?
Yeah. You have to truly trust your gut and your intuition and what you feel on a very deep level is true for you. And you also have to realize that, for me as an empath, a mystic, a healer, a psychic, I have given away my gifts my whole life. You feel the pain of people you want to help. At a certain point, I started realizing that it was a detriment to my health. It was a detriment to my wealth. It was, and that it wasn't reciprocal. And that's been the culture we've lived in. It's been a very extractive culture, especially towards the energetics of the feminine or mysticism or magic. And that energy hasn't been seen. And in order to be honored and these new kind of energies to come forth, we have to honor ourselves, which means that we have to really say, okay, if I'm giving this thing, even if it's from my deepest place of my heart and my soul to give, there must be a reciprocation, and it has to be material. That's the world we live in at this point. Or else, something where it's an equal exchange, something where you feel what you are given, you are being reciprocated, and it's like an infinity loop. It's up, it works in balance.
Hmm.
Um, it took me a long time to come to terms with that, a long time.
Hmm. And for you, like one of the things that people wrestle with that I hear is the stability of a job, right? Of that paycheck. I know you've said it's kind of like
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to remember what you said about like the boss is basically kind of like a pseudo structure. Yeah,
Outsourcing your
yeah,
power. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Outsourcing your power. What a great way to say that. And so, how did you like? What were you doing in terms of professionally, and how did you make that mental shift to go? Okay, I'm going to start my own thing.
Yeah. Gosh, what was I doing? It's so funny because I've done so many things. Like I speak Arabic, I was in the Peace Corps, I have a master's degree, but I've always refused to comply with. I don't want to be in an office. I just can't. I think I was working at a wellness counselor at like a integrative pharmacy when I was younger,
Mhm,
and I just knew that I needed to evolve. I
mhm,
knew that my potential was so much greater than, because you get frustrated. We all have this. It's like we have this semblance of safety, but then we're kind of numbed and dulled and bored, and we feel stunted and stifled. But then we have that like, desire to kind of jump to something else that is more of a deeper, truer expression of ourselves. But in order to do that, you have to develop deep levels of faith and connection to source so that you are held. Because if you maintain those deep levels of fear and scarcity, you will be met with it. So you have to do a lot of deep energetic work to make that leap, to have that faith, to open up and begin to trust that, believing that what you feel is the truth. It's nature. Your intuition is nature. You're being guided towards the right thing, and just beginning to open. That is what opening up to love is. It's opening up to trusting that what you are being guided towards will support you as you move in that direction. you know
mhm. That's so good. I remember when I made this major shift in 2003. It just like I love what you said. It's like you can't keep holding on to this. You've got to feel like you're held and know that you're held by source. That
Yes.
that is such a powerful visual. I love
What
that.
did you do? What did you do?
Well, for me, I was a pastor on staff at a church
Oh,
here in Orange County, and then in 2003, I shifted to start my own church. And even though that had its own nonprofit entity and a board, I really was the one who was the driving force. And there was no guarantee. There was no like backup plan.
yeah.
And then I shifted out of full time Christian ministry in 2008. And then I started my own marketing company, and I started filmmaking, produced and directed 4 feature films. And so all of that is, there's no backup, there's no boss,
Yep.
there's, so that sense of being held, trusting that the universe has your back, so to speak, that you have access to all the resources you need, that you have the wisdom and intention and even just a hard work inside of you to figure
Yeah.
things out.
Yes. Well, and what I've come, it's just the more and more, the older I get, the more I just realize it's really about receiving. It's just about
Mhm.
receiving. Can you accept this earth, this universe is made of love? We invert it into fear, but its natural expression is love. And can you accept that love? Just,
Hmm.
you know?
hmm I'm curious about how you would articulate your mission in this season of life. Like, what do you sense that you are here for? And even how long did it take you to get clarity on that?
Mm. I know that I'm here as an anchor of authenticity and to reclaim and re-inhabit the energetics of the divine feminine. So I say to recalibrate the energetics of the divine feminine on planet Earth. But doesn't necessarily mean, a woman is leading and rising and it's like, yes, listen to me. It means that to remember the peace inside of all of us that is of energy, that is connected to source, that is beyond the rational, lives in the mystery, that is connected to energy, and to begin to have faith in that thing and hold that thing and then ground in our authentic power through that process. I've done a lot of I've done a lot of shadow work. I call shadow work as light work. To really move past your limitations to open yourself towards just fulfilling one's potential, to really open to fulfill one's potential, because we all have that thing, but it's about trusting in the alignment of nature, which is basically, so for me, it's recalibrating those energies to realign with nature. But it's that intuition to me is like the prime, it's kind of like my core ethos of everything I teach. Like you to know yourself, you need to be in tuned to your intuition, and you need to be aligned with it, and you need to follow it, and you need to work with it. And we've lost that so much in our modern day. It's so important.
hmm Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with Mandy about that sense of intuition, that gut. And I said yes to something because inside, there was this opportunity to do something that's it's irrelevant what it is. And inside, I was just like, that just doesn't, I don't really feel in alignment with that. I don't know. But then there was this sense of the person who was offering it to me. I felt like I've got a fear of missing out if I don't say yes to it. And then I didn't want to disappoint her in her request because I thought, well, she's super connected to people and I don't want to disappoint her. And then I ended up like fulfilling the request. And the whole time I was like, I do not want to do this. I do not feel in alignment with this. This does not feel good. And I was telling Mandy, I was like, dang it, why did I not listen to myself? But it's like the fear of missing out and then the not wanting to disappoint her because she's connected to people, right?
Yeah.
How do you help people navigate? I mean, number one, and I know you have full programs and courses, obviously it's a long process, but like just give us some insight on number one, how do I get in touch with that intuition? And then how do I actually listen to it rather than the fear of missing out or wanting to disappoint others?
Yeah. Those are real things. I mean, the pain of saying no, this is very much about energetic boundaries. That's another core, ethos of mine, is really about empaths and those that are of this, energy that we're all a part of here speaking on, really grounding in their starting to develop energetic boundaries, which is starting to protect your energy. So it's starting to pay attention to, that part of you that just was like, I don't feel like it. It doesn't feel good to me. And then honoring that versus, a lot of what we have, it's just deprogramming a lot of our, it's very American this thing where we have to constantly be on, and we have to take every opportunity, and we have to work ourselves to the bone, and we just need to. It's this constant output. It's exhaustive and it's depleting, and through that process, we actually never receive. And it's very hard to nourish our well and nourish our deep well of self-worth through that process. Um, so it's really just coming back to the self and that deep place within, and honoring what you feel is your truth, and then standing in that. And it's helpful when you kind of really start to look at it as you're protecting your energy. You're protecting, the thing with energetic boundaries and establishing your energetic field. It's like there's this younger version of you that's inside of you. And it's about, you as an adult protecting that younger version,
Mhm. I love that, protecting your energy. What is the result, or what's the result of not protecting my energy? Or maybe
Extraction,
some clues that I'm not protecting my energy.
exhaustion, depletion, high level of your nervous system is rattled.
Mm-hmm.
You have a hard time making decisions. You don't trust yourself. You get pulled in a lot of different directions. And extraction. So, I spent years as a healer, and so many people would have autoimmune disorders. It's a very common thing for people that are highly sensitive and their energy getting extracted. These are
Mm-hmm.
hidden things that, the Western medical system doesn't understand, but it's just exhaustion. It's
Mm-hmm.
exhaustion and it's extraction. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's our MO. That's been the MO on planet Earth, and especially in America. It's imbalanced. So we have to protect ourselves to say, no, I will not participate. I will not allow that dynamic to
Mm-hmm.
continue.
Mm-hmm. Uh, you recently wrote a post on the fact that empaths are often in a trance of othering,
Mm-hmm.
And I was so interested. I love this blog post. Can you describe what you mean by a trance of othering, and how we can wake up from it? Because I think this ties in directly to what we've been talking about, protecting your energy.
Absolutely. 100%. We empaths, we merge our energy fields like this. We don't know how to we've never been taught. So empaths are highly sensitive people. Highly sensitive people means you're sensitive to energy. Energy is not something that's talked about in our modern world. It's not on the news. It's only talked about in these circles here. Even here we're still discovering it. And empaths have open energy fields. So a lot of us, unless we learn how to adequately protect our energy field, will be open, meaning we are merging with all energies around us all the time. That depletes, exhausts, and it confuses us. We don't know what is ours and what is someone else's. We have a hard time distinguishing our frequency from theirs. And then we end up doing a lot of energetic labor for others because, for whatever reason, it's a way for us to hide. It's a way for us to fill our own cups. It's a way for us to help. It's a way for us to serve. They're all interconnected. But the most powerful thing one can do is start to fortify one's energetic field, so that you start to know where you end and someone else begins, and you stop that merging process. So we've just entered the age of Aquarius, and that's what the age of Aquarius is giving us right now. And that's why we're able to have these conversations. That's why this information is coming online right now, because the age of Pisces Pisces is very sensitive, very, very sensitive. They merge, they feel everything. And it was sometimes, if Pisces don't develop strong energetic boundaries, the age of Pisces, there was like very toxic and codependent dynamics. Age of Aquarius, it's air. It's the sword archetype. It's cutting through all that. We're detaching, and we're starting to connect with source on our own terms. We're detaching from toxic power structures, from toxic relationships. We're starting to actually connect on our own terms. That's what it's giving us. So that's why this information is actually accessible to us now and available to us.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I want to read just a paragraph from this post that you made, because when I first read the title, I was like, "Oh, the trance of othering." And you're obviously using a play on words on that, like in our current culture, like othering, like making judgment about other people. But I love it. You basically say this is what the true essence of codependence is. We, for some reason, over time, have come to believe that our own energy, i.e., creative process, ideas, mojo, juju, power, and the essence, are not enough. This is the core wound. And the reason we leave our bodies all the time, for whatever reason, we feel other people are more interesting and busy ourselves with them needing our help somehow. So, in a way, we seek out suffering. We feed on feeling sorry. I feel sorry for them, you said. This is a classic empath mantra. What we do when someone is suffering is quite literally feel sorry for them. This is
Yeah.
shame in a bottle. This is the essence of shame.
Yeah.
Um, how do we extract, how do we remove ourselves from the other and reclaim our own energetic field?
Yeah. Well, we have to come to terms with the pain, like you were saying in the beginning, the pain of saying no. We have to like feel that shadow and feel that pain. A lot of us will avoid, because there's two things that are happening here. We feel someone else's pain, we want to help them. We also are simultaneously avoiding our own our own selves. And so they kind of feed on each other. And I mean, this is, you could call it, these are the empath narcissist dynamics. This is patriarchal world culture conditioning. It's anything where there's a dominator and a submissive. And we're moving out of those dynamics now. And so for those of us that have been submissive or giving or over giving, we have to learn, we have to start prioritizing our energy. We have to start prioritizing ourselves. And that in of itself can cause a crisis of consciousness. That can cause an existential crisis. Because when you have never really focused on yourself and you've at all costs, you've avoided it, I mean, and you start to do it, whoo-wee, that's not easy. But I think we're all at an impasse now where we can know, this is how I feel because I see it in all my clients and where I'm teaching. People are no longer willing to continue with the status quo, which is very toxic and imbalanced. So it's forcing us to look at ourselves, which means it's kind of amazing because I mean, I think that there's so much creativity, there's so much latent potential, there's so much in there that we haven't touched, that we haven't tapped. But we have to start guarding, protecting, and separating ourselves from other people's problems. And it doesn't mean, so like empaths, we are always going to be healers. We're always going to care, no matter what. I know that I will always care. The level at which I care. Before, I would do all the energy work for somebody. Now I'm realizing I can have compassion without empathy. I can be there and be present without taking on, without absorbing. Observe and don't absorb. You can be there, you can be present. But when you start, you have to have that distinction of the energy body and when you're actually absorbing and taking on the energy versus allowing that person to process themselves, giving them the freedom, giving them the space. Because when you do that, you are setting them free as well as setting yourself free. They are able to actually stand on their 2 feet and begin to provide for themselves, to care for themselves. This has been the dynamic that we've had on planet Earth. That the healers have done a lot of, the empaths have done a lot of energetic work. We've been exhausted. And then there's other people that are not feeling anything and they're numb. And that has to be reconciled. And it's been a toxic, so it has to be separated.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. With Awaken Magazine, I always tell people that our target, the person that I am most passionate about, is a woman who has kids who are finishing high school and or beginning college, because she is in a transition of going, I've given everything to these little ones and generally this man, and I don't know, this is not working for me anymore. Is this all there is to life? And so I think that's such a powerful moment, because although you're talking about empaths, I think in large part, at least in US culture, that woman at that season of life is at such a pivotal place of asking those questions. And what's interesting is I think about it in my own life. I'm in a season where my kids are in their early to mid 20s, and then my parents are in their mid 70s. And I'm finding that probably for the first time in my life, I'm wrestling with the things you're talking about in terms of energetic boundaries because I'm like, oh my gosh, I want my kids to succeed, but I can't do the work for them. Oh my gosh, my parents are having some health problems and challenges. And how can I be there but not take on the weight of that emotional, ah, right?
Mhm.
It's such a challenging place to be in.
Mhm.
And I think it's not
Mhm.
just empaths, but it can be any of us,
Yeah.
in culture. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's empath is sensitive. Basically, it's empath means like you merge, you're feeling what other people are feeling. So anybody that has any level, I'm sure there's a scale of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Continuum. Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
One of the character qualities, the virtues that is very dear to you is courage,
Yeah.
having courage in your own life. How would you define courage and how do you seek to embody that in your own life?
um Courage to me is following your intuition without having any idea how it's going to work out. And it's really about jumping into the void. And the more you do it, and it's because you're aligned. So the thing is that being really truly in your integrity means that you're aligned with your intuition. That's what I've realized. It's where your internal state is matching in your external actions. That's being in your integrity. And so many of us have been trained out of our intuition. We've been trained out of honoring our intuition, acknowledging it when it's really ourselves. It's our deeper connection to source. It's how we're being guided. It's our deep emotional self, our energetic self. And so when you start letting that out, it's in the shadow. The intuition's in our shadow. When you start letting it out and honoring it, seeing it, trusting it, you're starting to actively work with the realm of magic. You're starting to actively work with creating a reality, with playing with materiality and trusting. And so my life has been a series of events of, having vision around something, align discerning my intuition, and then trusting and having absolutely no idea how I'm going to make it happen, where the money's going to come from, or anything like this, and then just boop 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 boop, it all starting to form itself. And then you start realizing that life's kind of just a play, it's a game. You can just start to create. It doesn't have to be as hard and linear and materialistic, and it's very your intuition is your doorway, it's your pathway. And that's trusting it and aligning yourself. I mean, it takes a lot of courage. It's very scary. You have to have a
Mhm.
real deep connection to source, and you have to really like half of your being has to live in that liminal, wild, unknown space of trusting in something higher than yourself.
Mhm. Do you have daily, weekly, monthly practices that help you stay in that place of deep connection to source, connected to that
Yeah.
courage? Can you describe some of those for us?
Yeah, I mean, I sit at my altar every morning. I make my green tea and mint every morning and sit at my altar, and I pray, I meditate, I read books, I journal, I use my divination sources. I have my teachers, my go-to teachers that I kind of go back to, um, and I take walks, but I spend a lot of time working with the energy of I am. I mean, there's not really anything more powerful than that, especially during these times where we're literally moving from one paradigm to the next. Um, the I am is really the what's going to get you to the next place, which is just starting to have dominion over your reality. So stepping into the thing that you are becoming.
Mhm. When you say playing with the energy of I am, go a little deeper with that. Maybe I shouldn't say go a little deeper. Go a little shallower with that. Talk to us as if we're like a kindergartner. What does that mean?
So we are energetic spiritual beings having a human experience.
Hmm.
And we will return to a formless space of energy once we are finished with these bodies, or we'll come back in or whatever. But our essence is eternal. And we can, when you start to work with the I am is claiming that essence. It's working with that essence versus it's working with your spirit versus the linear material identity that you have created here on earth. And you can shape and form that identity. So you can shape and form that energy. And so what you see yourself stepping into. So let's say you want to have more courage in your life. You step into the energy of courage. I am courage. And you have to feel it in your gut, and you have to feel it in your head. You can't just say it in your brain and not feel it in your body. You have to have that alignment, and you have to kind of have that ownership. But you can use it basically for anything. That's what quantum leaping is. It's just it's literally, that's the core energy of it. You can have all these people all talking, the Joe Dispenzas of the world and everything, talking. I am just center in on that, feel it, say it, think it, all in one way, and you're basically quantum leaping.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, you wrote a book called Witchy Bitch:
Yeah.
A Revolution in Reclaiming Your Self-Worth and Divine Feminine Power. Talk to
Yeah.
us. What motivated you to write the book, and what is it all about?
Um, I wrote it a while ago now. I wrote that book when I was doing healing work, a lot of healing work, and I was coming up against the same client over and over and over again that was exhausted, depleted, tired, and had no connection to source. So a lot of people would come and see me for healing things. They'd have all this similar issues. A lot of people had autoimmune issues. And then I'd be like, do you have a spiritual practice? And they'd be like, oh, I meditate, or not really. Or, or they were religious, but they're not really religious. And it's kind of like this hollowness that a lot of us have, that we're seeking a deeper connection to something greater than ourselves. And I think that's what this book is basically for. It's for anybody that's like wants to establish a strong spiritual practice. So the first week is about creating an altar and learning how to pray. The second week is about your intuition. The third and fourth weeks are about doing shadow work. The fifth week's about rewilding and authenticity. The sixth week is about self-worth and receptivity. And the final week is about the transformation of the self.
Hmm.
It's kind of like an ayahuasca trip, but like more laid out and
In
easier
text
to
form.
understand. Yeah.
Um, I want to hear about different ways that people work with you now in this season of life. We haven't talked about it much, but astrology is a huge part of the wisdom that you bring to the table. You
Yeah.
have courses that people can connect with you on.
Mhm.
One of the things that I definitely want to hear about, I think, is a cool entry point for people. When I was reviewing all of your offerings, is something called a spiritual portfolio. So maybe
Mhm.
we could just start with that, and then kind of just tell us more about ways that people can work with you.
Yeah. So I have a weekly podcast. It's called Oracle. It's called a Priestess podcast, but it's basically also I'm doing astrological update and energetic update for the week. And then so that's kind of like a free offering. And then I have courses. I have a lot of courses. So I have my Witchy Bitch course. I have my Sacred Boundaries course. I have a Rewilding course. I have a course I'm developing right now on using AI for self realization. I have course on shadow work, and right now, I do one-on-one coaching as well. So I have 6 week, 3 month, 6 month coaching options. I do astrological readings, and the spiritual portfolio is an offering that you can get where basically you're you are given all kinds of like tools. So basically it's like looking at the numerology, it's looking at your numerology, it's looking at your gene keys, it's looking at your human design, it's looking at your astrology, it's like putting it all together. It's like everything to kind of give you an imprint of like your soul signature.
Chinese astrology, tarot profile, rune profile, sacred
Yeah.
geometry symbol. I just like what a very affordable price point. I would say for you putting all of that together with them. I think that's a really cool offering that I had not seen anybody else put together. Kind of like here's a bunch of different tools to use. Very
Yeah.
very powerful. Yeah, I love that. Um, okay, so you also live with a dog
Yeah.
named Bear
Yeah.
and a horse named
Yeah.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it seems like we have a dog. Have dogs growing up. Not everybody lives with a horse. Um, how did you get into horses? Did you have horses growing up?
The horse thing has been like a totally like wild intuitive thing. It's very no, I didn't have horses growing up. I hung out with horses a little bit when I was a kid. I had a friend that had a horse, and I would hang out with their horse. Yeah, I think it has something to do with just the divine feminine and the rise of consciousness and the connection to sentient beings. And I think that the horses have a lot to teach us. They are these wild creatures that have been domesticated by man, and they have this kind of wild soul. They have their mirrors. They're these grand mirrors. They're these powerful creatures that are scary and beautiful and tender, and they're just their energy field alone can heal you. Just being around a horse can calm your nervous system, and it can bring out your shadows. It can bring out it's the most incredible one of the most incredible healing tools. So I had a friend that was into horses, and then I started taking lessons, and then one thing led to another, and I got a horse, and I still am like, what am I doing? But he's such a cool being, and he's taught me so much, and I love him. Like, he's teaching me a lot. He's teaching me a lot right now.
Does he live on your property or at a stable where you go
He
to him?
he
Or
he currently is at a stable, but I just right before this podcast was on a phone call, and I'm actually going to probably move him to a property and live on a property with him.
that's so great.
I know. Yeah.
What do you specifically, not just about horses, but what do you specifically love about Spirit?
He's autonomous. He does not. This horse has not been like broken. He's an Appaloosa. They're known for they're a Native American horse. They have whites in their eyes, so they kind of look kind of human. And he is just a pure. He's a sacred mirror. He's a sacred reflector. He's my friend. He's helping me rise in like power, because he's showing me he's huge. He's 16'2". He's a giant horse, and he's helping me understand my own connection to my own power. It's very very I'm still unraveling the mystery of this horse, but I feel at the period of my life I'm in right now, which is very expansive and exciting. He's a beautiful friend. He's a beautiful teacher to have along my side at my side.
Hmm. And what would you say if I said, "What does Spirit love about you?"
He would say, I treat him like a friend. I don't treat him like a horse. I talk to him. I ask him his opinions. He's like completely like a family member. He's like I do not dominate him, and I don't operate like that. I honor him, and he he's able to be himself around me.
Hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, people are ready to reach out to you. They want to connect with you. I think you even have an opportunity for a discovery call too. Before,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I've seen that on your website. So, what would
Mhm.
be the best place for people to connect with you and follow your work?
You can follow me at Chase Butticé, Buttice.com. And then I have my podcast, Oracle podcast. And then you can go to booking, I think, or contact on my website. Contact me. I'm on Instagram at chasebuttice.com, but Buttice. And then yeah, that's I think that's it.
If somebody's listening today who, whether they consider themselves an empath or they just go, yeah, I am really sensitive to, the things that are going on around me, and they're trying to maybe negotiate that for the very first time. Like, okay, how do I actually set these things that Chase calls energetic boundaries? How do I do that? What encouragement or advice would you give them today?
Find a way to get quiet with yourself, to prioritize your energy, to find a way to pause and tune in to your authentic truth, to your authentic voice, to your authentic feelings, and give yourself a moment to honor that, to honor them, and then move from there. Because I think that most of us spend our lives ignoring ourselves. And I think if all of us started paying more attention to our soul and our truth and our intuition and how we really felt, if we really started, that's what love is. That's what self-worth is. That's what self-love is. That's like the deepest essence of it. The world would be a different place. Because by not doing that, we're constantly projecting our pain onto everybody else, and it creates loops of destruction and war. If we started actually giving ourselves that time, that's what we're starting to imprint. We're starting to bring light. We're starting to anchor more light.
Thank you so much, Chase. It's great to be with you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your life with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Awaken Magazine podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and our other conversations, would you mind taking a moment to leave a 5-star review and maybe even a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? That's one of the ways that you can give back to the show and help us reach more people. And of course, feel free to share the episode with a friend. And if you're not already on our email list, we send out an inspiring email every Monday morning full of articles and interviews. Just head on over to awakenedmagazine.com and click subscribe and join for free. Our hope is that all the resources we share will help our world continue awakening to love.